All right, welcome to City Boys. Are we sticking with City Boys? Should we do it?
Yeah, let's be City Boys.
All right, welcome to City Boys, St. Louis SC video podcast show. I don't really know what to call it. We'll figure it out as we go.
Conversation, yeah.
I'm Grayson. You boys want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'm Jacob. I'm from St. Louis, but I'm currently out in Portland.
Yes, sir. I'm Ethan. I'm also born and raised in STL, and now I live in Louisville, Kentucky. So just representing from afar.
Yes, sir. We are all three born and raised St. Louis. Yeah, we're our City Boys, home ground, looking back at the city from afar. But luckily, two of us got to make it out to match day one. So that's what we're talking about today is match day one for St. Louis City. Played against Real Salt Lake in MLS season 2024. Shall we kick off? Let's go ahead and take it to Jacob for the lineup from this game.
Yeah, so match day one. For me, I think the lineup was sort of typical. We had Roman Berkey in net, Tolan, Parker, Nielsen, Markinich in the back line, Blom and Edu Leuven as like our deep lying midfielders, Pompeo, Jackson, Thornton as attacking / wingers, and then big man João Klaus up top. Yeah, I've really liked Tolan in preseason. Obviously, we got to see him up against Houston, and I thought he did great.
Yes, sir. Thomas Thornton got that MLS debut, and it was a joy to watch, to say the least.
He's got a pretty solid background, so I kind of knew what to expect. But since he's coming to the squad, I don't really see anybody else playing right back.
I was gonna say it was Kyle Hebert. Kind of locking down that position last season. This is definitely a step up offensively.
And one of the best parts is just that the effort in general has not gone down, but you can tell it's been a step up in quality. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about Thomas Tolan somewhere later.
Let's kind of give you guys a little match recap of how this game looked for St. Louis City. The game ended 1-1 with both goals came pretty late in the match. It was a super intense game, though. I think even without those goals coming, it was pretty back and forth. Both teams were really struggling to break each other down, so it was kind of at a stalemate.
Yeah, so the goals came in order. Christian Arango for RSL in the 74th, and then Adeniran in the 79th, who subbed on for Klaus. As far as the game went, I was pretty disappointed in how I thought we looked as a team. I don't watch a whole lot of RSL, but as far as City as a whole, we looked like not totally a shell of what we want to be, but definitely not as good as we've seen them play in the past.
Yeah, we saw the kind of typical St. Louis City high press, the kind of very quick build up and direct to goal. But yeah, just ultimately pretty disappointing performance.
I was going to say the high press, it usually works out great. We're comfortable not having that much of the ball, which we saw a lot in this game, a lot of time and possession for Salt Lake, taking their time, moving the ball through the back. But we did find a couple of spots where we stole the ball back in the final third, but we really couldn't put any passes together, any meaningful passes. And I think that's kind of where we faltered. Hopefully that's something that will kind of grow into as the season progresses. Because, as we saw at the beginning of last season, we got a lot of luck. So hopefully we can actually start to produce and create our own goals.
The chances created is going to be really important going forward this season. So we saw specifically in this game against RSL, when it's not coming from Edu Leuven, we don't really know where that's going to come from. AZ had sparks. I think Celio had sparks. I was really impressed with Vasilev against the Dynamo, but as we know, we picked up pretty decent wrist injuries. So yeah, I'm very interested to see where the chance creation is going to come from, specifically in our midfield. But yeah, it's going to have to improve.
Yeah, I'd have to say, kind of going back to the lineup, I don't think this was our strongest team we could have put out. And also we had just played in the week prior. So we had some swapping that we had to do. I don't know if I would have started Thorson if Vasilev hadn't broken his wrist, because Vasilev did look really good in that first game. I kind of like Celio starting, He did have some really good spurts, but as far as like team effort went, we just looked disconnected. And when we would win the ball back, we would either quickly lose it or it would come to like a half chance that really didn't do anything. And then maybe we'd get a corner kick out of it, and we weren't nearly as deadly on our set pieces as we usually are.
So let's talk about the goals. The first goal was Christian Arango. I was actually sitting right in front of that goal when that happened. Got a good view of it. So as we know, we made some late defensive changes. Brought in Jake Nowitzki, and Nowitzki was marking Arango on that play. Arango had his back to Nowitzki. Got the ball played in fast to his feet. Hit him with a nice turn. Spun around, placed the ball past Berkey, nice and easy. Sadly, just 1 second of just losing focus. Nowitzki was on him. He had him. You just gotta make sure you can't let that guy turn. And his first game of the season, he's cold. He just got on the field, so you definitely can't expect the world out of him. But just disappointed that we were defending pretty well that entire game. Not many chances for Salt Lake, but just can't lose focus for a second.
Full credit to Arango. It was a great turn and a pretty classy finish. But yeah, the defending from Nowinski was not good enough. I think of that video of Lukaku and Jamie Carragher where Lukaku was talking about putting his shoulder into the defender. Nowinski wasn't even around to put his shoulder into. Arango just got to turn and smack that puppy in the goal. So yeah, like I said, full credit to Arango. But yeah, the defending in general was really solid. Then we kind of switched to that three in the back, and we found ourselves a lot more vulnerable.
Big Sam scoring an equalizer for us was huge as far as points go. And also, in my opinion, it was definitely unwarranted. The goal worked for us because three players did their job correctly. Blom won the ball, and then Edu got the ball turned, placed it perfectly on a platter for Adeniran to run onto it, absolutely burned his man, and then he did the rest. He got in the goal, got on his strong foot, blasted it into the side of the net, and it was a great goal as far as points go, and it definitely is going to help keep our momentum going, not having a loss to start the season, but it was just one bright point for me in a match where it had a lot of lows.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to introduce our 3 points. I'm going to start with point 1, and that is, for me, our outside backs. Totland and Markinich have been so good so far. Them and Berkey are the only players to have played every minute available so far this season, and I think there's really good reason for that. Totland earned a 7.02 rating against Real Salt Lake. He took 2 shots in the 90 minutes, which I think is pretty good for a right back. I think he really speaks to the St. Louis City style of getting the ball high up the field and, trying to capitalize on those chances. And not to mention, he had some crazy chances against Houston, but the keeper went absolutely crazy. Right now, he's also leading our team in interceptions per 90 with at least 5. An immense performance for Totland on both sides of the ball. And of course, I got to show love to our young lad, Markinich. He earned a 7.16 rating on FOTMob, the third best performance of the game. Right now, he's leading our team in successful tackles, which is immense for our outside back. It just shows that he's not just hitting the ball up the field. He's a quality defender as well. And that speaks to him being third on the team in accurate passes per match. He had 21, which is huge coming from the back. Building from the back is going to be really important for our team this season. So just to see him succeeding and both of our outside backs providing consistency and depth in our team is immense. Not to mention, we haven't even seen Nicholas Dyer yet. So having depth on the defense is going to be just so critical going forward.
Markinich and Totland were pretty locked down defensively. I can't really pinpoint a moment in which they got beaten atrociously. And then going forward, Totland and Markinich are pretty dangerous as far as crossers go, but Totland has also got a foot on him. I would not be surprised if he puts in a goal from 30 plus yards away.
He's a shooter. He is a shooter. And the depth that adds to the attack is crazy. I mean, instead of having 4 defenders on the field, it switches to basically 7 attackers. So that's pretty overwhelming for a defense and a midfield. And I know St. Louis City isn't the most possession-based team, but as we create more chances and get more lethal and the season goes on, yeah, they're going to play a big role in our success.
I'll take over and take us into the midfield for point number two, which is kind of the place where I felt we lost the game, even though the goal from Arango came in the final third. Really, if you watch the game, most of St. Louis's offensive frailties came in the midfield. We had two guys in the midfield that were pretty, or three guys, I would say, were decently experienced, getting a lot of minutes with City last season. Those guys being Blom, Loven, and Aziel Jackson. Of course, Aziel Jackson is is a young guy, but he did get a lot of minutes in the latter portion of last season. And then we had two, I'd say, pretty inexperienced people playing on the wing. So we got Thorson and Celio Pompeu. Pompeu played a lot for City 2 before joining. He's known as like a pretty fast, agile dribbler. We didn't really get to see a lot of that showcased in this match. Thinking back to the game at all, I can't really think of any meaningful possessions he had on the ball. Thorson had a decent outing. Nothing super to talk about, but I will say when he did win possession, he always won a corner out of it. He didn't lose possession in the offensive third. He always got something out of it. AZ, we got to see a little bit of his creative side in this game as the game grew on. He did have some like pretty exciting dribble moves into the final third. I saw him like skip past three people and then just couldn't make the final pass. I really just wanted to talk about Loven and Blom. Really, two figureheads of our midfield. Loven would say was the best player we had last season, especially in the midfield. He's our number 10. He's our engine. He's our creative player, but we really didn't see that this match almost at all. He earned a 7.8 on Foot Mob, which is, I would say, is pretty generous for, what I saw in that game, which is pretty much nothing.
Yeah, I think a 7.8 is pretty generous.
Had a pretty abysmal pass percentage of only 59%, only 22 of his passes connected. Of course, Loven is always dangerous on set pieces, but we really didn't earn too many there. Blom had 12 recoveries. He did fantastically defensively, but passing after winning that ball back is just nothing great. He did have a better passing accuracy. He had 70% pass. He only had one more connected pass than Leuven. So these stats just show how abysmal we were in the midfield. I heard some people commenting that maybe Leuven is lacking on fitness. I think he had missed some
No, yeah, you're right. He missed about half the preseason, him and Nilsson, to finish up getting their green cards.
Right. So maybe that has something to affect his fitness. But hopefully, Carnell can get them working on the training ground, and we'll start to see better side of Logan as the season comes on.
Yeah, so let me just preface my next statement with this statement. I love Leuven. I think he's our best player without a doubt. And because of
Absolutely.
that, I hold like a very, very high bar for what I want out of him.
Mhm.
And dude, if you are misplacing 50% of your passes as like a deep lying playmaker, you should not have a 7.6. I thought Leuven was nowhere near the caliber of player I'm sure he wants to be, and definitely what the team needs. Because Ethan touched on it earlier. If our chances are coming from Leuven, we are really struggling to create in the offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Grayson, I mean, I think your analysis is spot on. Lovin is absolutely the engine of the team. So when he's not performing to his highest level, I don't think the team is. I hope that Chris Durkin can maybe release him a little higher up the field to play in a more center attacking mid role, because I think that's where he creates the best and where a lot of his goal contributions will come from. You also made a great point about Blom. Defensively, I think he was really immense in kind of canceling out Diego Luna for RSL, who he looked extremely quality. I know he made his debut for the national team, in the same game as AZ Jackson, and you can really see why. I mean, he's a super young and creative player out on the wing. Every time he got the ball, he looked really dangerous. So for Blom to put a stop to him, I thought was critical.
So what did you guys think of Durkin at the end of the game? I think he only got maybe 10 minutes or so, but did you guys like what you saw?
Yeah, so I liked Durkin against Houston. And when we first signed him, I was pretty pumped. I went on a deep dive of like highlights, and dude is also an engine. He's definitely way more defensively minded than I would say Lubin is, but uh, Blom is without a doubt our starting center defensive mid. I just think I'm not exactly sure which formation to throw the three of them in because I like Lubin a little bit deeper than a center attacking mid, but also kind of his sole responsibility is to create offensively and not worry so much about having to drop all the way back to be a big body and disrupt. And I think Durkin fits great into a role right next to Blom.
Yeah, I agree, Jacob. I'm really excited to hopefully see all three of them play at the same time. I think that is going to be an incredibly strong midfield. I thought Durkin's performance was inspiring against RSL. It kind of picked the team up, and I think against Houston he was immense. So I think he's going to be huge for STL.
Jacob, do you want to finish us off with point number three?
Yeah, so I've got as point number three, kind of tactics and manager decisions. With that, this isn't our dream starting 11. Tim Parker going down early was a huge loss for us. I did think Yarrow as a substitute did really well. He got thrown into the fire, took a beating. Like he definitely has a concussion. And even with the concussed head, he did a really good job. So I will credit Carnell on that. But as far as like our tactics went, I know we're a gegenpress team, but RSL came prepared for that. I think they played us really well in that aspect. I think they took a little bit of what happened to us last year in the playoffs with Sporting Kansas City and kind of implemented how Kansas City handled us in their own game plan. The substitutions that were made, I mean, Nowitzki is, I'd say 99.9% responsible for their goal. And that's not necessarily Carnell's fault because he can't play the game for him, but he did throw him into the situation. Leuven playing 80 minutes, missing either 1 to 2 weeks of preseason was probably an oversight. I think he probably should have played about 60 minutes because we saw him fall off pretty hard, except for his assist. Celio, although I love him, I think he's probably better used as a spark plug super sub. And then if we have injuries to start, so we did have an injury in Vasilev. So I think that's why Pompeo got the start. Personally, I don't like AZ as a center attacking mid. He's shown lots of sparks that he can play that position well. I just don't see it for 80% of the game. Like he tries a lot, which I respect, and also never plays to his strengths, which is quickness with his feet, being able to beat a defender. I think he tries to take too many guys on at once. I think AZ has some growth that needs to be made. And
you want
all
to
of
see
that,
him maybe on the wing?
I could see him on the wing. I could also see him as a super sub in kind of the same boat as Celio. They have a similar game, but Celio knows his role, and Celio plays it really well. AZ is still kind of trying to find his role, which is fine. Like he's still young, and I'm not going to hold it against him for the rest of his career. This is kind of just more as a Carnell take. I thought Thorson did well, and then everything that I had stated previously led up to João Klaus not having as spectacular of a night as we've seen in the past. There wasn't enough service to him. He wasn't getting the ball in spots that he could be really effective. I saw him dropping really deep to receive the ball, which is not what you want out of your target man. You want him to be a target, not a center defensive mid. Parnell got outmanaged again, and the last time he was outmanaged was our last MLS game. And yeah, that's my hot take of the episode. I probably will have one every single episode going forward.
I mean, yeah, that is jalapeno habanero spicy, man. I think that might be the first person cold on AZ Jackson. But I think you're super valid, man. He is dangerous out on the wing, especially, and I think that creative spark, like you're talking about, off the bench would be huge.
So with that, let's start looking forward to match day two.
Coming up
Everything's
against
great.
NYCFC, I believe.
Okay,
Definitely a
interesting.
scrub team.
So last week, NYCFC lost 1-0 to Charlotte. Does give me a little bit of hope, because I'm not too hot on Charlotte either.
Yeah, from what I know about Charlotte, I know that they are not anticipating the greatest season. And I do want to give a huge shout out to the Charlotte fandom, though. I think like 65,000 people showed up for that game, which is crazy. I mean, that's huge for the MLS. I can't, that number is bigger than most NFL attendances. So, yeah, don't come around here talking about soccer as a small sport.
Yeah, I've got a
Uh,
couple of opinions. So first off, Charlotte might have a lot of attendance, but that's also because they play in the Carolina Panthers Stadium and they have a lot more
Mm,
seats that they can fill. So
that's true.
I think City's a way better atmosphere, even though we probably have half as many fans that can attend a game. Second off, New York City has not been a good team for years now, and I'm looking at their roster, and the only name I recognize, and this might be just a fact that I don't follow New York City, but it's James Sands as a midfielder. And I only know him because of his short spurts as a potential U.S. men's national team player.
right.
But other than that, I'm looking at their roster and I don't see anybody that scares me.
See, they've fallen a long way since Frank Lampard, David Villa days.
Yeah, some classic throwbacks there.
I think anything less than a 3-1, 4-0 victory is mid for St. Louis. We need to come out hot after this kind of dud of a start and remind the entire league why we won the West.
I'm gonna go out and say a clean sheet to make a defensive statement, some kind of contribution from Thomas Ostrak. He did not see time at RSL, but he looked good in the center mid role in the preseason. So I think he might provide something.
I'm with Ethan. I think we're gonna get a clean sheet. I saw a nice defensive outing this week. As long as there's no extended injuries to our center backs like Timmy P. Nilsson had a fantastic game as well. I also want to shout him out. He
Yeah,
looked
we got to shout out
better
Nilsson.
than
We
last
haven't
year.
mentioned his name one time, but I thought he looked great in his first full 90 for STL.
So many super clutch, important tackles, last ditch blocks. Just looked so much better, so much faster than last season. I'm definitely excited to see him in the starting 11 again. I will say, I think we're going to keep a clean sheet. It's going to be a somewhat lower scoring. I'm going to go 2-0. And I think we're going to get a formation change for game number two. A very different lineup than we saw last game.
I like that, Grayson. I would definitely like to see two strikers. I think Sam and Joao Klaus would be crazy together. Last note on Nilsson, he had 36 accurate passes in 90 minutes. And he led the team in that. So more than Lovin, more than Blom, more than Durkin, more than AZ. So that's the kind of quality that we have at center back this season. And
And
of course, the return of All-Star Timmy P.
that's also coming from a team's tactic that isn't to build out of the back. Like he's connecting that amount of passes, and his job isn't just to pass it back and forth between his center back partner. His
Mm-hmm.
job is to cut the lines of defense to get it to a midfielder or even a winger. So that stat is huge. I haven't seen that one yet, but shout out to Nielsen.
Let's finish off the episode by throwing out a prediction for how we are going to end the season. I don't know if you guys want to be super optimistic. I'm going to be. I think realistically, I think we're going to be in the top five in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe fourth or fifth, not as good as last season. As for when it comes to playoffs, I see us getting a little bit further than last year. I'm not going to say we're going to win the whole thing. I think we're going to make it to the conference finals.
Shoot, I'm gonna say top five as well because I think the West is just a better conference this season. LAFC is kind of obvious, but the dark horse of the entire MLS, in my opinion, FC Dallas this year, they look so dangerous and they're starting off strong. So the West is gonna be real tough this season. I'm gonna say fourth with a conference final appearance as well. I would bet a lot of money that we make it out of the first.
Call me a homer if you want, but if you're not fucking first, you're last. We are winning the West back to back.
Fuck yeah.
To have a starting season the way we did, and I know there's a lot more game film that teams can learn from on how to play us, but we can also learn how to get better as a team. I predict first in the West. We sign one more big DP that can really help the team, whether that's a winger. I think we're solid in the center midfield position. I think wing is definitely where we need some help. And I think we make it to the MLS Cup, and then anything can happen in 90 minutes.
Wait, hold on. Before we finish, can we do one player prediction? Any player prediction, whether it be an all-star, how many goals someone finishes with? What's your prediction?
I like that.
I'm going to piggyback my prediction that I told you guys last year. Edu Leuven scores 7 free kicks on the year.
Woo-hoo! 7.
How many did he have last season?
I had a mental counter before he got hurt for a while, and then I was kind of like, all right, that prediction is not going to happen. So I stopped counting. But I can think of 2.
All right, my prediction, double-digit goals from Sam Adeniran and Joao Klaus this season. I think Joao Klaus is pretty much a lock for 15 plus. I would put him closer to 20, but then we're talking golden boot range. And right now, I'm not convinced that he has the service for that. But I am definitely expecting 10 plus from Sam this season. He is looking in such good form and extremely hungry.
Okay, so I was thinking about Berkey getting back-to-back MLS Goalkeeper of the Year.
I like that.
Don't think it's going to happen just because I don't think that has ever happened in MLS history. I don't think he'll win it back-to-back. And this is a little weird. I think Sam Adeniran will be this season's top scorer over Joao Klaus.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
I know that's a weird one.
It's not a take I disagree with either.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Just from what I've seen out of Sam and Klaus, I think that Klaus, he has some assists in his game. You know, I think he sees the game a lot better, and his passing is a lot better. His hold-up play is a lot better. Big Sam gets the ball and goes to goal. So
he is scoring every time. He has that striker conviction, man.
Exactly. Well, any final thoughts from the lads before we call it an episode?
Before we finish, do y'all want to do like a bet for the game?
So money line, City is plus 130 to win, plus 235 to draw. NYCFC is plus 185 to win. So City is a slight favorite. Both teams to score, yes, is minus 165. No is plus 125. I'd probably dabble on both teams to score. I know you guys want a clean sheet.
I'm going to take the St. Louis City money line at regular, just easy.
Okay.
I'm with that. I think I would parlay St. Louis money line with both teams to score, no draw.
Okay.
So that'd be a nice little 2-leg parlay. That
I will
probably is
say
gonna hit.
I'm gonna throw in maybe on that possible parlay. I'm throwing an anytime goal scorer.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna give it to Tommy Ostrick.
Wow.
Like Ethan said, we're gonna get a goal next week against NYCFC. Honestly, I surprised myself that I said that. I was looking at the starting lineup, and I have a feeling.
All right, I love it.
I love it. Guys, this was the City Boys at Match Day episode 1 review for City versus Real Salt Lake. I'm Grayson. Thanks for joining us.
Like, subscribe, drop a comment, drop a follow on whatever social media platform you guys are on. I'm Jacob. Peace out.
Yes, sir. I'm Ethan, and yeah, come back for more. I want to give a quick shout out to the Toasted Raviolis, our supporter group. Y'all are dope.
City Boys. All right, y'all.
That was cool as fuck.